Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the regularly scheduled meeting of the Board of Public Works for today, Monday, September 12th, 2016.
Commissioner Repenning, James Davis, and Jacinto are present. President James, we have a quorum. May we start with Bureau introductions, please, starting with Bureau of Sanitation.
Good morning, Cecile Buncio for Sanitation.
Good morning, Maddie Lawn, Bureau of Engineering.
Good morning, Chris Smith, Bureau of Contract Administration.
Go ahead, Tim.
Good morning, Mr. Tyson from Bureau of Street Services.
Asad Al-Najjar, Bureau of Street Lighting.
Good morning, Ted Jordan, Public Works General Counsel.
Fernando Campos, Executive Officer. President James, we do not have any speaker cards under general public comment, no commentary under the Neighborhood Council. We do have a speaker card under item number 3.
Okay, we'll close general public comment in the Neighborhood Council category of commentary. We have two agenda items to approve before we get started. One, the meeting minutes from Wednesday, August 17, 2016. Is there a second to my motion that we approve those meeting minutes? By Commissioner Repenning. Any objection? Without objection, we'll approve those meeting minutes. Agenda also approving the meeting minutes from the meeting of Monday, August 22nd, 2016. Is there a second to my motion to approve those meeting minutes? By Commissioner Repenning. Without objection, we'll approve the meeting minutes from the meeting of Monday, August 22nd, 2016. We have the presentation of a 35-year service retirement award to Charles B. Trujillo, Bureau of Sanitation. Mr. Irvin, go ahead, sir. I see that Chuck has decided to leave us, much to my dismay.
He has.
At least his full-time employment, but he
has to stand up here with me,
yes,
too.
Yes, he does. Go ahead, guys.
Well, Chuck and I were joking about the notes that we put down here. We were talking about, we did it the old-fashioned way since we're both old school. We both wrote them longhand. So it's with mixed emotions that we're here to present Chuck with his 35-year retirement award. I'll kind of do career highlights kind of quickly here. Chuck is a graduate of Loyola Marymount in 81 as a civil engineer, and then he got his master's degree from Berkeley in environmental engineering in 82. Usually a lot of the engineers kind of do it the other way around. They go to LMU for their master's degree, but Chuck reversed that. While he was at Loyola, he worked at Department of Water and Power as a student engineer back in the 80s and got some good experience there. And I guess he worked up in the Owens Valley at the time too, which convinced him he didn't want to work up in the Owens Valley anymore, on a permanent basis anyway. And then he got a job as an engineering assistant, which is a class they had back in those days, in 1982, and worked for DWP until 1984, when he came to LA Sanitation to work at Hyperion as a process engineer. And he stayed with sanitation ever since, which we're happy about. And he's worked in a lot of different areas since he's been with sanitation. He worked as an associate 2 and was a process control engineer at Hyperion. Was promoted to an associate 3 in 87, and was working in 88. He moved to what was called the wastewater treatment division, which is what we used to call the outlying plants. This is a long time ago. We call them different names today. Now we have Terminal Island Water Reclamation. Well, I don't have to go over what they are, but we used to call it the wastewater treatment division. He then promoted to a process engineer, a startup engineer for full secondary, and this was in 1989. Hyperion was going through the big modernization, going to full secondary. Chuck was one of the key startup engineers on that project. One of his claims to fame, and he has a lot of them, is he really understands the process. And I'll talk a little more about this too. He has what we call in sanitation an encyclopedic understanding of the wastewater process of Hyperion in particular and a lot of the history that's gone on. So anyway, in 1984, he became a senior environmental engineer with Hyperion. He was the chief process engineer at that time. He went to the Regulatory Affairs Division in 2000 and worked there on permits for a while. He went to our wastewater engineering services division in 01 through 04, and then he was promoted to the position he's retiring from in 04, which was the division manager of what was at that time HRDD, our Human Resources Development Division. We changed the name to Industrial Safety Compliance Division. The division, as all of you know, is responsible for safety and training and keeping hazardous waste, all kinds of the key stuff like that, and he has served with distinction during that time. So as I've said, Chuck is responsible. Most of you see him because he's responsible for all of our claims. He handles all the claims at Claims Board, has done a phenomenal job of that over the years. And anyway, whenever anyone, I know Lisa mentioned at his retirement lunch last week, there was some abstract question someone was asking about DWP years ago. And Lisa thought, I'll bet Chuck knows about that. So she called him, and sure enough, he did. He remembered some arcane fact from, what was that, back in the 70s, I think, right? So amazing memory, amazing knowledge. We will miss him. We wish him the best in his retirement. And here is your 35-year service award. If I can open it here. Charles Beecher Hollow. One thing that's worth mentioning too, Chuck's father was a professor at Loyola, and he in fact signed the diplomas for some of the engineers that work in sanitation now, among them Tracy, Minamidi, Varouge, their master's diplomas, and I think Hassan too. Yeah, Hassan shaking his head, yes. So that's kind of cool too, and I know Chuck's planning on doing some volunteer work at Loyola too. So anyway, I've talked enough. I'll turn it back to the board. Chuck.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Chuck, I'll start here before we hear from you. You were one of those, for me anyway, one of those calming forces at sanitation. What I mean by that is you brought such knowledge, wisdom, and confidence to the work product that whenever I saw you, as recently as the sewer spill over near the 6th Street Viaduct, that when you were there, I was confident that we were in good hands. But for my personal experience, that was perhaps most notable for you was really around an event that didn't occur as we had expected it to based on what we were hearing in the media, and that was this past El Nino season. The work that you did in preparing the city for this El Nino, the benefits, of course, we will experience for a very long time, even though the El Nino didn't happen as it was predicted to occur. We still saw areas where we were able to improve. You were able to keep the public appropriately and accurately convinced that we were ready for that wet weather event in the event that it would have occurred as predicted. And when I saw your certificate, you don't look old enough to have been here 35 years, and I thought maybe it was just the 35 years. I'm like, wow, Chuck's been here 35 years? That seems like a long time for him. But then I saw the word retirement, and unfortunately, if we delete that word from the certificate, it doesn't change the fact that you're still going to retire, so we left it in the certificate. But it is mixed emotions. Congratulations on just a stellar career with the city of Los Angeles. I've seen in my few years here the great benefit that the residents of the city receive from your expertise. But I understand, at least speaking with you from afar, that you're not going too far. And Bob hinted that you're going to volunteer a bit at LMU. I think you indicated that you might still do some work for us at some level for the city.
That is correct.
So I'm very pleased to hear that, and glad to know that you're not going to be too far away. And I'm going to take the liberty of the opportunity that if we need you for something, we can call you, which I love being able to assume. So we will miss you, and congratulations. But most importantly, thank you, sir. Commissioner Davis.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. And Charles, I wanted to do a couple of things. One is to thank you for your service, and then two, to recognize you for your service. I thank you for having dedicated 35 years to the city of Los Angeles, and it was noted that you've worked with many and various agencies within the city of Los Angeles. And also, I wanted to recognize your service because public service is still honorable. And it's very clear to me that through the experiences that you have had here in the city, that you have demonstrated to others that have had the privilege to work with you, that through being efficient and effective, that you have provided the kind of leadership that I believe has inspired a whole generation of public servants. And particularly, we were fortunate to have you stay as you have in public works in general, but in sanitation in particular, in terms of the work that you have done. And as you retire as one of the leaders in the Bureau of Sanitation, and I'm just thrilled to know that you're taking this experience and you're being able to institutionalize it as you move forward to work at Loyola Marymount University. And again, as our president says, you're young enough to even come back here and do some retirement time too. So we hope that as you move forward, that you will do that. And I, again, thank you so very much for your 35 years of service to the city. And we recognize the outstanding service that you have provided to the great city of Los Angeles. And I will just conclude to say, what makes Los Angeles great are people like you. So thank you so much. Thank you.
Commissioner Repenning.
Good morning, Chuck. You know, one of the things that, as the commission liaison to sanitation, I got a chance to experience early on was just the talent in the team and the teamwork involved. And you guys really operate, you know, as a family. And you know, you're a critical part of that. I see your colleagues here today to support you, and I know that they're gonna miss you, and they're gonna feel your loss in that team. I think that Baruch has actually provided a great example of what retirement can and should look like at sanitation. It's a joke.
I was gonna say, is he back already?
No, you know, hopefully you'll stay part of the family. We'd love to see you around, but if not, 35 years is an amazing gift that you've given to our city and helping keep our city clean and safe, and we really appreciate your public service. So enjoy your retirement. You definitely deserve it, and you'll be missed.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Repenning. Commissioner Cinto.
Thank you, President James. Mr. Terhala, I didn't get a chance to work with you. I've been on the board for about a year, but hearing about your career is stellar, and that's outstanding. And I think you are a role model for the current staff to be able to say, how will it look to serve our city for almost an entire career. And it is much appreciated, and as you continue to live your life and volunteer at your university, and that's very admirable. Maybe I'll see you on the west side. You know, being able to prepare us for El Nino and that emergency services and the claims in HR and safety are such core competencies that we have to have for not only your bureau, our bureau, but the rest of our department. So thank you very, very much. And again, it's great to see your colleagues in support of you, and I'll see you on the west side, so thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Jacinto. Mr. Trujillo, the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you very much to the commission and my friends and colleagues here. 35 years has been a great experience with the city. Little history, my father taught history at Loyola Marymount, was the graduate dean, and when he and I are talking about careers, history is my best academic subject. But I also am very good with numbers, so my father said, there are much better jobs in engineering than history, so I said, be an engineer and be a history buff on the side. So that was the career path I took, which turned out well because then I functioned as the Bureau wastewater historian. So I get paid to do history at a much higher rate if I was a professor on that. But I mean, water and power as a student engineer, I spent 2 summers quite a bit up in the Owens Valley. That showed me I didn't want to be a consultant and live out of a suitcase in the middle of nowhere, which is up there. But then I joined sanitation. They promoted me about 6 times by my reckoning in my years there, of different variety and plethora of areas I got to handle, which kept variety and kept me very well seasoned and trained. And so in my retirement, I plan on coming back as a tour guide to help them out on the tours, provide technical institutional memory like I do on that. Also help out get my successor settled in. So I don't plan on cutting the cord. I still live in Westchester, 4 miles from work. In fact, that was one of the best selling points of promoting out to Hyperion from Water and Power. 4-mile drive home took 8 minutes after my promotional interview back in '84. where I said, I could get used to this. That's pretty much, it was the main selling point on that. I went to board for the first time, I realized, in early '85 when I needed to get a contract through for chemical coagulant ferric chloride. So I've had a long history of the board going back 31 years. And then for many years I presented the training issues and then, of course, the wet weather, which as a process engineer at Hyperion, I was in primary treatment, and we had issues where we needed to mobilize for additional support facilities, so I had to make the call on that. They eventually had me decide to put the plant on alert, then it eventually got transmorphed into the Bureau-wide Storm Commander that I have been able to have the privilege and honor to do for many, many years now on that. So thank you again, I do plan on keeping in touch.
Thank you, Chuck. And And before we go off the agenda for just a moment to take a couple of photos and then come back on, one thing I do want to add that I'm reminded of I know that you've done it for over 30 years here, but that I saw firsthand this year was your collaboration with the other city departments. And I know that that EMD and the other city departments that work with us and work with the Bureau of Sanitation on so many things will miss you as well. But I really do want to thank you for always having that collaborative spirit and being willing to work with our other departments. It's what makes the city forces stronger. So thank you, sir, and congratulations.
Thank you.
So we'll take just a minute recess and come right back.
Morning, how are you?
Thank you, Chuck. Congratulations. Going back on our agenda item number 1, recommending the board authorize the city engineer to issue a notice to proceed number 2 to HDR Engineering Incorporated from the pre-qualified on-call civil design services consultants list to provide continuing design and program management support services for the sidewalk repair program as stated in task order solicitation number 28, with a budget authority of $8,500,000, that's the budget authority, which includes contingency. The notice to proceed number 2 requests an additional expenditure authority of $2,521,645 for a total authorized amount to date of $3,221,645. That's out of the budget authority. That includes the initial NTP amount of $700,000. Mr. Chen? Mr. Nelson?
Morning, I'm Steve Chen, Bureau of Engineering. Here to request authority for a notice to proceed to HDR for the sidewalk repair program. They are currently working, as you mentioned in the item, on these support services, and these additional NTP number 2 will be primarily to work on the incentive program, which is a program that we're starting up in the process of working out right now. We require some additional support for scheduling, for program management, and for other services for GIS and other items to sort of start up the program. And this is basically a continuation from the first NTP, which was the initial amount of funding that we got from last fiscal year. And in this year's budget, we got additional funding to request the additional authority for this NTP.
So we're moving from one fiscal year to the next with
Basically,
this,
yes.
with this money, right, Steve?
Yeah.
Okay. Commissioner Jacinto.
Thank you, President James. Steve, thanks for the report, and Carl, for both your work with the Bureau and our intra-city task force for our sidewalk repair program. You know, this is one of the first projects I've been able to sit in almost on a bi-weekly basis, our big meetings on that morning. And I think HDR has done a great job in providing support for our Bureau. It's going to be a program that's around for a long time. And so the first 3 years is the $8.5 million over
Correct.
3 years. Steve, what's your projection after that? Are we going to dial back, or what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, you know, we're kind of as needed. We're using as much support as we need right now. I think over time we are going to eventually transition to city staff over time. But as you know, it's a very dynamic program. So at this point, we're still in the very much growth mode, and so we do need their services for support. But I think, yeah, over time, I see it transitioning over time to more city staff.
All right. Well, I think they provide a great value and a great role for us too. So I support this. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you, Commissioner Jacinto. Any other questions or comments on agenda item number 1? Commissioner Jacinto's made a motion that we adopt agenda item number 1. I'll second it. Any objection? Without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 1. Any issue sending number 1 forthwith? We'll send number 1 forthwith. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Carl. Agenda item number 2, requested tree removal, Council District 7, 13527 through 13557 block of Van Nuys Boulevard between Kewen Avenue and Haddon Avenue, recommending that the board find that the tree removals are classified as operation, repair, maintenance, or minor alteration of existing street, sidewalk, and gutter involving negligible or no expansion of use beyond that previously existing and do not involve the removal of a scenic resource. Number 2, that the action is exempt under Article 3, Section 1, Class 1, Category 3, Existing Facilities Minor Alteration section of the City of Los Angeles Environmental Quality Act guidelines from 2002, and that none of the exceptions to the use of a categorical exemption as set forth in Section 15300.2 of the California Environmental Quality Act CEQA guidelines apply. Number 2, specify that the Urban Forestry Division of the Bureau of Street Services located at 1149 South Broadway is custodian of the documents or other material which constitute the record of the proceedings upon which the Board of Public Works decision is based. And 3, review and approve the request to remove 4 California sycamore trees on Van Nuys Boulevard between Kewen Avenue and Haddon Avenue by city forces for street and traffic improvements. Tree replacements are required. Mr. Tyson, on agenda item number 2.
Good morning, President James, Commissioners, Bureau Representatives, City Attorney, and Executive Officer. The applicant, Los Angeles Department of Transportation, is proposing street and traffic improvements on Van Nuys Boulevard in the community of Pacoima. The proposed street and traffic improvement project was initiated as a road reconfiguration component to the proposed Van Nuys Great Street projects in Los Angeles. LADOT, the project lead, requested assistance from the City of Los Angeles Bureau of Street Services to assess and perform the work within the roadway. The street and traffic improvement project includes the removal of 2 median islands and 4 street trees growing in one of the median islands. The proposed center median removal is located on Van Nuys Boulevard between Keywood Street and Haddon Street. The removal of the medians will necessitate the tree removals. A Bureau of Street Services arborist inspected the subject location on April 25, 2016, and the inspection revealed the 4 California sycamore trees, Platanus racemosa, in fair condition. The 4 California sycamore trees measure approximately 6 to 12 inches in diameter at chest height by 25 feet in height, growing within an 8-foot wide center median. As part of the center median removal, the tree removals are classified as operation, repair, maintenance, or minor alteration of existing sidewalk or gutter involving negligible or no expansion of use beyond that previously existing and do not involve the removal of scenic resource. The cumulative impacts of the California Environmental Quality Act: 1 permit for the removal of 1 2-inch diameter street tree located at 13220 West Van Nuys Boulevard was pending approval and was approved on 4/20/2016. The address is 8 blocks away from the project site. There are no other additional tree removal permits requested within the last 6 months within the San Fernando Road to Laurel Canyon Road proposed Van Nuys Great Street project. Cumulative impacts are not anticipated with the proposed street tree removals. The trees were physically posted on April 25, 2016. Yolanda Fuentes, District Director, 7th Council District Office, was informed of the tree removal request on July 13, 2016. The Bureau of Street Services shall plant 8 24-inch box-sized Chinese pistachinensis trees at the off-site locations on Haddon Avenue to replace the removed trees. The applicant shall provide watering to all replacement trees for a minimum of 5 years. So Bureau of Street Services is asking the board to approve this request to remove 4 Platanus racemosa sycamore trees in the center median.
Thank you, Mr. Tyson. Commissioner Repenning.
Can you comment on the condition of the trees?
Yes, as I stated earlier, the trees are in fair condition and they measure an average of, let me find it, 6 to 12 inches in diameter by 25 feet in height.
And these aren't protected trees.
All trees that are requested for removal that are in the city right-of-way are protected, as in they needed to have a permit to either trim, remove, or anything to be done with them. As far as the protected species, they are, but they're not naturally occurring. They're planted trees, which disqualifies them as being a protected tree.
Okay.
So they're not in the list of protected trees.
Okay.
Right.
My only thought about this, and I see Carter from the Great Streets team in the room, is just the watering plan is incumbent upon volunteers to water for 5 years, and I've just personally had experiences where we get people to sign up for maintaining things, and they'll do it for a year or two, and then the interest level wanes. So I just want to make sure that that we're monitoring the watering, given how hot it can be, and that it's been pretty dry. So that would be my only comment.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Repenning. Anything further on that? I'll make a motion that we adopt agenda item number 2, and I know that Carter's in the room and heard the issue on the watering concern that was raised, so we'll trust them to handle that. Thank you, sir. I'll make a motion that we adopt agenda item number 2, seconded by Commissioners Jacinto and Davis. Any objection? Without objection, we will adopt agenda item number 2. Any issue sending number 2 forthwith? We'll send number 2 forthwith. Thank you, Commissioner Repenning. Agenda item number 3, also requested tree removal in Council District 8, 1470 and 1476 West 37th Drive. recommending that the board find that the tree removal classifies as operation, repair, maintenance, or minor alteration of existing street, sidewalk, and gutter involving negligible or no expansion of use beyond that previously existing and does not involve the removal of a scenic resource. Number 2, that the action is exempt under Article 3, Section 1, Class 1, Category 3, existing facilities, sidewalk repair, or maintenance of the City of Los Angeles Environmental Quality Act guidelines. 3, that none of the exceptions to the use of a categorical exemption as set forth in Section 15300.2 of the California Environmental Quality Act guidelines apply. And then review and approve this no-fee tree removal permit for 9 camphor trees requested by city forces for the reconstruction of an off-grade public sidewalk. Tree replacements are required. Mr. Tyson, just summarize what we're doing on agenda item number 3, and then we'll hear from Ms. Thomas, who submitted a speaker card on the item. Go ahead, sir.
We came before the board on this matter before, and there was one extra tree that was the neighbor's tree located at 1470, and it's been added into the report. It's a total of 9 trees. I personally went to the location and viewed the trees and the roots and the sidewalks. The Bureau of Street Services Engineering Division, in collaboration with other divisions with the Bureau, are designing and constructing several curb access ramps and repairing defective sidewalk conditions in several locations adjacent to the Exposition Boulevard and Western Avenue, known to Bureau of Street Services as the Expo Line Station Streetscape Project East. The project is funded by Metro Call for projects and includes various street improvements, including but not limited to sidewalk repair. Anna Rudy, Street Services Engineer Division representative, contacted the Bureau of Street Services in reference to the project's reconstruction of the off-grade sidewalk condition at 1470 and 1476 West 37th Drive. Mrs. Rudy requested the sites to be inspected to address the potential impacts to the street trees adjacent to the targeted location and verify the need for street tree removals. A Bureau arborist inspected the subject location on March 31st, 2016. The inspection revealed 9 fair condition camphor cinnamon camphora trees measuring approximately 12 to 24 inches in diameter by 35 feet in height. 1 tree is located in front of 1470 West 37th Drive, 3 trees in front of 1476 West 37th Drive, and 5 trees are on the Halldale street side of this address. The trees are growing in 4-foot parkways and have outgrown their growing space provided. The tree roots have created an off-grade condition to the public sidewalk. The roots and root crowns from the subject trees have significantly contributed to the defective conditions of the public sidewalk. Surface roots are prevalent throughout the parkway and in some areas growing several inches above the soil grade surface. Due to the minimal parkway size, the required root pruning of these trees would significantly and adversely affect the tree's health and root integrity. Sidewalk reconstruction will require removal of the 9 trees. Fernando Montez Rodriguez with Council District 8 was informed of the tree removals on May 24, 2016. The proposed tree removal is also placed on the Bureau of Street Services tree removal notification system, and the Community Forest Advisory Committee was notified. The Bureau of Street Services shall plant 1 24-inch box-sized Brisbane box Lopez Stromon confertus tree in the front of the property and 3 24-inch box-sized Brisbane box trees on the Halldale Avenue side of the property. An additional 14 24-inch box-sized pink trumpet trees shall be planted at 3741, 3745, 3755, 3765, 3748, and 3752 Halldale Avenue. 1454, 1461, 1470, and 1471 West 37th Drive, and 1476 West 37th Place to comply with the Board of Public Works 2-to-1 replacement policy. All trees shall be watered by the abutting property owners for a period of 3 years until trees are established.
Thank you, Mr. Tyson. We'll have some questions for you. We have Jennifer Thomas here.
Good morning. I'm here in support of the proposal. My husband and I are the homeowners at 1476. The sidewalks on both sides of the house, there are places where they're raised up at least 12 inches. The neighborhood is mostly families, lots of school-aged children walking back and forth. We're near an elementary school. We're near the metro line. We think, removing the trees and replacing them with something else is a good solution. We will miss our trees, but we are completely on board, as I believe our neighbors at 1470 are. I believe they've signed the paperwork. We've signed the paperwork. So, thank you.
Thank you. Paul Ellman.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So I was here a couple times on this, I've spoken with Ms. Thomas's husband, I believe, right? So about this, and I understand that now they're on board, but I feel like perhaps under duress of the threat of future maintenance costs and the potential liability, right, from somebody, having an accident due to the lack of maintenance, if the city were not to adopt this. And I totally understand where they're coming from on this, but I still think that with regard to it being a scenic resource or not being a scenic resource, I believe that's incorrect. I think that the trees as they are a scenic resource that are really sort of creating the look of the street. The value of the properties are definitely increased due to that sort of tree-lined look that the street has. I understand that the homeowners that have the trees right in front of their homes, they were put in the situation, and being in the same situation, I would have done the exact same thing. I totally understand that. But I still can't help but be completely against the tree removal. And I don't know if you guys got those copies of that letter that was signed by quite a few residents, both on Halldale and on West 37th Drive, people that are completely against the tree removal. I would say even horrified at the thought that they're going to be removing these trees that are 60, 70 years old and fully developed trees that are very scarce in LA in general, and specifically in that region of South LA. Going back to it, if this was Beverly Hills, Pasadena, or any other well-to-do neighborhood, there's no way, I don't think, that they even consider removing trees of such size and age. And I can't help but think that this is against most neighbors' wishes, really. And I know that there had been previous to this, another sort of petition that was passed around.
Did you say 2 minutes, Mr.
I did.
Campos?
Yes,
Okay.
2 minutes.
2 minutes.
Thank
Okay.
you, sir.
All right.
Mr. Tyson, I have some questions. Based on the photographs, from what I can tell, to do the sidewalk repair work here that needs to be done to meet ADA compliance, 5 of the trees, from my perspective here, look like they have to go, of the 9. However, on one of the sheets, there are 3, actually 3 trees, so it may be 6 that have to go. But it looks like the sidewalk along the fence on 3 of these trees is not particularly horribly interrupted like the others in the photographs clearly are. My question is, do you know the width of the sidewalk? Because I have 2 questions. One, is the width enough that we can meet our ADA requirements and save the 3 trees in this photograph that I'll show you in a moment? And then the other question I have is, at the top of this photograph where there's clearly a buckle in the sidewalk with an asphalt patch, I'm assuming that with ADA, we have to have some sense of uniformity there. So can you come forward and I can show you which one of the photographs that I'm looking at. So if you've got, okay, so the first, let's just count the photographs. So we're on the first. The first one that is just a picture of the sidewalk and trees. It's clear in the first photograph that this sidewalk these trees have got to come out to repair this sidewalk with all the patchwork from the asphalt. Same on the second page and the third page. But when you get to this, what looks like the fifth page, the sidewalk appears, and I know that the texture of this photo is not great, but it appears that these three trees are not interrupting the sidewalk, although at the top you can see the asphalt repair there. So can you speak on the record about what I'm looking at on this photo and address the width issue as well? Because I just can't tell from the photo what the width is.
Absolutely, President James. If you look at the first photo, which has the one tree in it, if you have the same photo, this is actually next door. This tree is at the 1470, and the sidewalk is very, very uplifted there.
That's the one that has the front of the car in it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
And then you go to the next photo. This is the same stretch of trees in front. And the very first one is right next to where the ADA ramp will be being put in. So therefore, it'll be being cut around all the way around the tree.
So there is an ADA ramp that's going in there?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And this sidewalk is actually 5 feet wide. I actually looked at this sidewalk and considered making it smaller, and yet if you look down a little ways, the second tree is the worst offender, and it's got the sidewalk, you can't tell in these photos very well, but it's 12 to 13 inches in height where the buttress root has come out and raised those.
8 foot?
Yes.
Okay.
Now, on the side where you were speaking is the last photo, which looks like, yeah, you could save these trees. Well, I walked up and down this, stomping it a few times, trying to make a clear thought in my mind. The very last tree at the end of the property is definitely needs to be removed,
Right.
like you suggested.
So that leaves us with the three that I was asking about.
Correct. And now we get down to this sidewalk is 4 feet wide. And so therefore the sidewalk that would be going back in would be 4 feet wide. And if you look down at the base of the tree, you can actually see where the buttress roots come down. In the very first tree, you can see two buttress roots right there, one coming under the sidewalk and one coming into the parkway and probably coming under the sidewalk over here in front of it. In order to take the sidewalk out and cut on these trees and take the end one out down there, and the one next to it at the end down there also has a SAR in place. You can barely see it. So you're looking at the three trees, and if you take the two out on the other end, then the trees become sided like this because all the trees are kind of making one large canopy. I walked it and I walked it, and I still feel that the health of these trees will be compromised in order to do the root pruning that's necessary to put the sidewalk back in.
So even if, because what I'm proposing is that you don't touch in this portion where these three trees are,
okay,
what happens if you don't touch that sidewalk because that sidewalk is not as damaged? You only build the new sidewalk up to where that asphalt repair is. Is that possible?
It is.
What happens to the trees if you do that?
They stay right there.
Okay.
We're not going to tamper with the roots, then there's no reason to remove them.
Okay, so we can save those three?
If we don't change that sidewalk, if we leave it in place.
Do we meet the ADA?
It's 4 feet wide.
Okay, so that sidewalk would be ADA compliant? Mr. Jordan?
I don't think we can conclude that these sidewalks would be ADA compliant simply because they happen to be 4 feet wide.
Yeah.
ADA has other
I know.
requirements that will apply, including the cross slope, as well as, at least in a couple of places here, I can see some uplift that's visible.
No, there are a couple of areas of uplift.
And so those uplifts, although while not as dramatic as what is shown in the other photographs, may still take these sidewalks out of the condition that we could say they're ADA compliant.
So, thank you, Mr. Jordan. Mr. Tyson, in this area where these 3 trees are there any curb ramp improvements that are going to be made in that area?
No, but there is some minor lifting in the second tree. If you can barely see it. There's
I got that.
No
But is there any curb ramp work that's going to be done?
No, sir.
Then here's what I would propose, and then I'll, Commissioner Davis, I know you have your light on as well. I don't see how we can save 6 of the 9. But for these 3, I would like, whether it's Ms. Rittenberg or someone else, our ADA compliance officer related to the sidewalk program, to look at this section of the sidewalk to see if it would meet ADA compliance to enable us to save those 3 trees. If it would, then we could save those 3. If it doesn't, as Mr. Jordan posits as a possibility, then we would have to come back and remove those 3 trees. That's what I would propose doing right now. And so, Commissioner Davis, I know you have your light on. If you have
I
any
wanted
questions.
to say that I would second that motion that you made in terms of us going out to due diligence in terms of determining the possibility of helping to save those trees based upon the pictures that we see. So I second that motion if it is one.
Okay, that's the motion I would make. Commissioner Jacinto?
I just wanted to clarify that if...
But I accept friendly amendments too, so go ahead,
Yeah,
sir.
I just wanted to add that if it is not ADA compliant, the last 3, are we going to come back and...
What I would do is, good question. I would recommend that if it's not ADA compliant, then they would have, without having to come back, they would have the authority to remove the trees.
Point of clarification. In fact, if it is ADA compliant, what action would they have to take?
Then they would not take the trees out.
Okay. But is there some need for further action on our behalf or theirs to?
I'm going to try and pose the motion in a way that there won't be any need for further action by us. We'll see if I have success doing that.
President James?
Yes.
Audrey Netzwig would like to say something to the board about the trees.
Okay.
Hi, good morning. Audrey Netzwig, Bureau of Street Services. I'm a project manager.
Okay.
And so I want to address the question about ADA compliance there at that intersection. The last photo that you look at is very close to where we're adding an access ramp there.
Okay.
So in order to fit an access ramp there, the area will be graded back, even though an actual access ramp is not there, but to actually meet the grade requirement, because that is a very tight corner, the tree will need to come out. And currently the cross slope there is greater than 2%, which, is required.
So you're telling us the ADA answer already?
Correct.
Okay.
So in addition to that, we're going to be reconstructing the driveway down the street between 37 Drive and Expo, where the property 1476 is. So, it is best to address everything all at once. The whole stretch of that sidewalk will be reconstructed as part of the project.
So my concern about the ADA compliance is you're telling us based on the grade slope that to be ADA compliant, we're not going to have ADA compliance with those trees left intact.
Correct.
All right.
Or not touching them at all. That's not possible. The current current cross slope is
I'm afraid
greater
we're
than-
going to have this happen a lot as we begin the sidewalk repair program. I hate to take out these trees. But we know when we get the direction from the council on the sidewalk repair program that this is going to be some of the pain that communities across the city are going to endure. Tim, would you talk a bit about the tree replacement policy on this project?
Yes, I will. The tree replacement policy is 2-to-1. We found all the planting locations right there in the vicinity, as there's not very many trees planted in the vicinity. There are a few old camphor trees like these that are in different places up and down the street that are still left from the original planting years and years and years ago. This is the only one that has so many and all together, which makes it one of the things when you see it, you're like very impressed by the trees in the area because there aren't very many. So with this planting on the streets in the area, and maybe we can get city plants in as well to look and canvass the area and get more trees planted where currently there aren't any. So all the trees are being replanted right back in the vicinity and the Brisbane box trees will grow within 15, 20 years, and they'll be large trees and very nice canopy covered trees.
Commissioner Penning.
I just wanted to thank you again for finding the additional locations, and I just echo comments made by our president that this is not a happy thing to take out these trees, but as always, we have our 2-to-1 replacement policy, and when we are actually meeting that policy, the one silver lining of a situation like this in which we have to comply with ADA requirements is that we are getting 2 new trees back where we had one previously. The mature trees are a loss, but at the same time, our urban canopy benefits from having trees of different ages, including young ones. And the one thing here is just making sure that the watering is happening. I see again, we're going to be depending on volunteers. So hopefully the neighbors in the area will keep an eye on the trees for the first few years. Thanks, Tim.
Thank you. So with that and with the additional information from the project manager, ma'am, thank you for being here this morning. And Commissioner Davis, I apologize. I mean, with our ADA requirements and seeing what I see on the sidewalks in the other areas, I don't feel like I have a choice but other than to make a recommendation and to make a motion that we adopt the board report as submitted for the removal of these 9 camphor trees. So I'll make that motion. Seconded by Commissioner Penning. Any objection on that? So that'll be the order. Reluctantly, I mean, but that is what we have to do for the ADA compliance. Any issue sending it forthwith? We'll send number 3 forthwith. Thank you, Mr. Tyson. Sir, thank you for your time coming today. Same for you, Ms. Thomas. Moving on to agenda item number 4, we have a requested contract acceptance in Council District 4, Hollywood Regional Fire Station number 82, an annex project completed by Murillo Construction. Mr. Smith, actually Mr. Bradley on number 4.
Good morning. Walter Bradley, Bureau of Contract Administration. This is, we're just cleaning up some paperwork on this particular project. This was a Hollywood Regional Fire Station number 82. The work was completed in October of 2014. A global settlement was reached with the contractor Murillo Construction in March that was adopted by your board. And I'm here today to recommend that you accept the contract. Everything's done, all the money's been distributed. It's just a matter of now the board needs to formally accept the work.
Yeah, this was the one that we did a fairly lengthy settlement procedure with everyone involved. We got to a global settlement that was issued as probably a final change-out order.
Yes.
A final change order, I should say. And so now we're just accepting the contract?
Yes.
Okay. Any questions? I'll make, Commissioner Santos made a motion that we adopt agenda item number 4. I'll second it. Any objection? Without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 4. Any issue sending it forthwith? We'll send number 4 forthwith. Thank you, Mr. Bradley. Number 5, requested on-call contract, Broadway Neighborhood Stormwater Greenway Project, completed by Mike Perlich and Sons Incorporated. Mr. Smith on number 5.
Yes, good morning. Chris Smith, Bureau of Contract Administration, General Services Division. The board awarded this project on April 27, 2015, and the work was completed July 21st, 2016. This was awarded off our emergency on-call sewer storm drain repair list. The project consisted of constructing stormwater capture and infiltration improvements to prevent them from getting into the LA River. Due to the emergency nature of the contract, there were no specific outreach requirements. There are no outstanding property or financial issues on this contract, and the Bureau recommends acceptance.
Okay, thank you. Any questions on agenda item number 5? I'll make a motion that we adopt agenda item number 5, seconded by Commissioner Jacinto. Any objection? Without objection, we will adopt agenda item number 5. Agenda item, thank you, sir. Any issue sending it forthwith? We'll send number 5 forthwith. Number 6, Bureau of Sanitation and Contract Administration recommending the board authorize the Bureau of Sanitation to exercise a 1-year renewal option to the contract between the City of Los Angeles and Conejo Crest Landscape Incorporated for the Japanese Garden Landscape and Site Services. This would be the first of 2 1-year renewal options. All terms and conditions shall remain in effect. The total contract cost ceiling remains unchanged at $3,500,000. Mr. Green on agenda item number 6.
Gene Green, good morning, Commissioners, Bureau Representatives, City Attorney, and Executive Officer. This is a request to extend the current Conejo Crest contract 1 year. The contract is a 5-year contract. Initial 3 years is over as of Saturday. As for the extension to September 10th, 2017, I'll be coming back to board within the year to ask for the last extension. So everything else stays in place. The contract is doing very well. The contractor is an MBE contractor with 95% employees live in the city of LA. We can't claim on the forms because when this contract was bid, he couldn't claim themselves. So any questions I'll be happy to address for you.
So, Mr. Green, what do you do at the, so it's 3 years, we're doing 1 year now, you're going to do another year later for the 5-year term.
Correct.
Then do you go back out to bid?
There's an RFP that I've already done. It's ready to go back. It has its 1022 approved because the Japanese garden is so specialized. So we had to go out to bid definitely again with all the new requirements. This current contract only has MBE and WBE requirements. The other 4 are not in this current contract because it's before the date that was all implemented. So hopefully within the next 2 years we'll get another contract for 5. This time we're going to ask for 5 years instead of the 3, 1 and 1. It's taken 11 months to get you here for an extension. So trying to plan ahead so we can come back just once for the new 5-year contract in 2018 be approved.
Okay, Commissioner Jacinto?
Yes, thank you. Gene, thank you. I did a site visit out there last week and appreciate you walking me around. Are we happy with the services for Conejo Crest?
Yes, they're very local. They're within 2 miles. Again, all their employees are very proactive at the garden. I see they're very professional. They're able to contact them by phone, by pager, by anything else. They're always available. They address, we have sometimes emergency needs like broken pipe in the garden or some plant material. We're open basically 7 days a week within reason. We're closed on Friday for high maintenance. So we always have to be up to speed on everything daily. We have contracts on Saturday. We're open Sunday through Thursday. So we're 7-day operations. We can't wait to have things done. So they're very proactive and helping us out.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Green. Anything further? I'll make a motion that we adopt agenda item number 6, seconded by Commissioners Repenning and Jacinto. Any objection? Without objection, we'll adopt number 6. Any issues sending it forthwith? We'll send number 6 forthwith.
Thank you very much.
You bet. Agenda item number 7, Authority for Expenditure, Pierre Landscape Incorporated, the Office of Accounting and the Bureau of Street Services are requesting board approval and execution of an authority for expenditure in the amount of $53,534.99 to pay for month-to-month services. The AFE will authorize funds to pay for the Sidewalk Maintenance Assessment District services provided for the Wilshire Miracle Mile Sidewalk Maintenance District from July 1, 2016 through December 31, 2016, while a new contract is established. Mario, good morning, sir.
Yes, good morning. My name is Mario Interiano. I'm with the Bureau of Street Services. The Bureau of Street Services is requesting that you approve and execute this authority for expenditure just as stated in the agenda. This would allow us to continue services from July 1st through the end of this calendar year. We are currently in the process of developing an RFP and hope to be advertising that sometime in October.
Okay. So that you think carrying us through December will be enough?
I believe so, yes.
Any questions on number 7? I'll make a motion that we adopt agenda item number 7, seconded by Commissioner Davis. Any objection? Without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 7. Any issues sending number 7 forthwith? We'll send number 7 forthwith. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Agenda item number 8, our quarterly status report on city trees. Mr. Tyson.
Good morning. At this current time, the division is taking all of its personnel through training. They go through a 3-day training, safety training. There's about 80 personnel that go through the training, all the tree surgeons, all the tree surgeon assistants, LEOs, light equipment operators, everything like that. We do an annual safety training so that we are well within the boundaries of Cal OSHA requirements and the fact that our job is so highly rated as a job that has lots of injuries. And right now, the division's doing really well with lack of injuries and getting a lot of work completed without injuries. So I think that the training is very beneficial to helping the guys learn how to pick things up, how to not do things, how to do things correctly. Currently, we are working with personnel. We have the tree surgeon exam set up. We will start testing within the next few weeks, as the list that we had was outdated, and we'd gone through the list 3 times trying to hire tree surgeons, so I requested a new exam, and we are overseeing the exam with the help of Water and Power and Parks and Recreation, as I need quite a few tree surgeons, so we need to get this moving forward so that then I can promote more supervisor ones that are tree surgeons currently, and I'm doing this to try to fill all of our availabilities and not deplete this until this gets filled so I can move people forward. We did just promote 1 supervisor 2 in our claims section, and we just interviewed for supervisor 1s, and looks like we'll be hiring 5 new supervisor 1s. All contracts for tree trimming, the 9 contracts are in process right now, and all trees are being trimmed in all the council districts. Our on-demand services of $1 million is being performed by the Bureau and the division. Landscape contracts will start up on September 19th, the ones that have been not happening for a while, and we're really glad to see these get going because we've been getting a lot of complaints, and it's very difficult to try to send what we don't have out to try to help get the complaints fixed until the landscape contracts start up again. But I wanted to thank the board for approving those and moving those forward. Our CEQA, as you spoke about last week, we're doing much better with. We're moving forward. We're catching up all the private property protected tree reports currently. And I think we're current with our B permitting reports. We have 7 in the shelf ready we're processing. Tablets, technology, we have more on order, as they are the key to the future and the key to the success of the division, in lieu of not having enough supervisors at this time. The tablets are really helping and benefiting in getting a lot more inspections done at the site rather than have to go back to the yards and input all the information and do it twice. So at this time, I just would like to report that since I was promoted and took over the division, I see a lot of improvement. We've been working on it for prior to that, but it's all starting to come to the light of day, which is a good feeling for me because it's been a lot of stress trying to get all these things working that weren't working before.
Tim, I know we said, thank you, sir, for the report. I know we said something about this last week, so I'll summarize it and won't take up a lot of people's time this morning. But I just really a thank you to you, particularly you, and to Ron Lorenzen and the Bureau. for all the hard work. When you said stress, it's probably an understatement. We worked you all pretty hard the last couple of years that were required because of CEQA and because of a backlog and demand. I know that we still have to work through that backlog, but we're making progress. But and yes, there are some complaints on timing. But regarding the policy that was created and the end work product, we really have just gotten, frankly, nothing but compliments on that. Took a long time to get there, but it looks like we got it right. And that gives us a process to be able to appropriately work our way through the backlog. You know that you have our support regarding what you need to do for filling positions. And always feel free to come to us earlier, or me in particular as the Bureau liaison, early as possible for any assistance I can provide in helping you all with the staffing issues. All right, thank you, sir. Anything else? Mr. Campos?
If I could, Mr. President, Fernando Campos, Executive Officer. Tim, I also want to congratulate you and your staff for working on the tree permits removals that were backlogged. We've been meeting with the Bureau of Engineering, Dr. Green, Rep Stock, and also Maria Martin, your staff. We've been meeting every 2 weeks, so thank you for your attendance, for your guidance, and your continued support. Just for the knowledge of the board, these biweekly meetings are really a status update with the Parsons team that we hired on to help us with the backlog, and so we had about 50 or so reports in the queue. You have heard about 13 or 14 of those now, so we are seeing some good benefits behind that. So there was a lot of questions regarding the cost analysis, so we are going through that now. We're going through a cost benefit analysis. We're keeping our hands over and just very vigilant in terms of what we're spending with Parsons. And so, Tim, thank you for your leadership. Thank you for supporting us getting these reports through the pipeline. I know the first couple of months were bumpy. However, I think we have a nice process now, and we're starting to see these reports come on a regular basis. So thank you.
And I'd like to thank all of the commissioners, President James as well, and Fernando, and also Ted Jordan. I'm becoming somewhat of a CEQA knowledgeable person. There's way too much to know to be an expert at it. So, but for what we need and what we're learning, and we are still learning, there's so many more things to cover in this CEQA, California Environmental Quality Act. So again, thank you to all of you as well.
Well, thank you. It looks like we've at least started to hit our stride on this, which is good news for, and truly, as Mr. Campos points out, a real team effort. So we'll keep it up. Thank you to everyone involved. Mr. Campos, have we cleared the desk?
Yes, you have.
Great that we are adjourned with the exception of the Bureau Heads meeting that takes place now in the conference room. Thank you, everyone.